Welcome to Springfield Reads, a virtual story time from Hyde Hall in Cooperstown, New York, and the Springfield Central Library. Today, we are celebrating the Mexican holiday, Dia de los Muertos. Our reader today is Donna Ahrens, the Spanish teacher at Cherry Valley Springfield Central School. She will be reading Uncle Monarch and the Day of the Dead by Judy Goldman. We hope you enjoy this story.
"You're here," Lupita cried. She ran to the rocking chair where her uncle was dozing and touched his arm. When he opened his eyes, she whispered, "Tio Urbano." "They're here." "Are you sure?" he asked. Quickly, Nina, hand me my cane. It is the best of luck to see them arrive." Tio Urbano struggled to his feet, his knees creaking like the wooden floor under him. He put his hand on Lupita's shoulder. They walked out of the house and watched as the first monarch butterflies fluttered to the safety of the trees. Here they all come. Lupita put her hand and a tired monarch landed on it. It stayed for a moment before flying off to blend with the others. Tio Urbano said, "Pequeña, do you remember what I've told you ever since you were a baby?" Lupita nodded and said, "I must never capture or hurt a monarch, for they are the souls of our dead ones who have come back to visit us before Dia de Muertos." Tio Urbano put his arm around Lupita. "Never be afraid of the dead," he said, "for those who loved us can never hurt us. We will always miss them, and this is why it is a blessing to receive the butterflies before Dia de Muertos, when we show our dead that they are treasured and not forgotten. Besides, it is a pleasure to see butterflies return every year." Day after day, Lupita and Tio Urbano watched the butterflies till the trees, and there were millions in the woods. On sunny days, they flew about, searching for food and water, and the forest was a quivering blur of orange and black. On cloudy days, the butterflies didn't take wing. Instead, they clung to the tree trunks and pressed tightly together for warmth. Soon after the arrival of the butterflies, Lupita's family got ready for Dia de Muertos. Papa set up the arch of sapenchusho flowers. He strung rows of colorful papel picado from the end of the living room to the other. Later, he set up the altar and displayed the photographs of family members that had died. So this is a special altar that they put in their houses, and they're individualized for each person that has died ahead of them. And some of these things are their favorite things. This is the papel picado. Mama gathered the ingredients she would use for preparing the pan de muertos: mole, tamales, tortillas, atole, and rice and beans that the dead had liked in life and would now enjoy in spirit. Lupita cleared a path that led from the altar to the street. She knew exactly how she would make the trail of petals of sapenchusho that would guide the spirits home. This year, it would be as wide and as thick as possible so that no one would get lost. The sapenchusho are kind of like our marigolds, very similar to them. Everything was done like last year, except that Tio Urbano couldn't help in any way. He sat wrapped up in blankets and dozed most of the day by the fireplace, mumbling in his sleep. When he was awake, and if his bones weren't aching, he watched the butterflies. A few days before Dia de Muertos, Tio Urbano took to his bed. Lupita sat by his side for hours. She stroked his hand and spoke to him about school and her friends, but he never opened his eyes. One morning, Lupita was dreaming of butterflies when she felt a touch on her shoulder. She opened her eyes, and when she saw the tears tracing down her father's cheeks, she knew. Tio Urbano, she asked in a whisper. Papa nodded. I know how much you will miss him, Pequeña, he said, but try to remember the good times you spent with him. He would like that. After that, the days were cold and dark for Lupita. Tio Urbano's photo was added to the ones on the altar, and a plate of his favorite enchiladas was added to the other dishes. Lupita missed seeing him in his old rocking chair. A gray feeling filled her breast, and she felt better only when, on sunny days, the monarchs flew around the meadow. On the first day of November, Dia de Muertos arrived. That night, Lupita's family and neighbors gathered in the cemetery. They lit torches and candles, and each family cleaned their relatives' gravestones. They painted the gravestones in bright colors and covered them with flowers and food. Some prayers were said, and a woman sang a hymn accompanied by a guitar. After a while, an air of festivity spread throughout the cemetery as adults told stories and ate their fill, and children played hide and seek among the gravestones. Lupita looked at the new grave that needed no fresh paint. She stayed close to her mother and father and wrapped herself in a warm blanket and fell asleep. Kind of seems a little funny to be having a party in a graveyard, doesn't it? Early the next morning, Mama woke Lupita and whispered, "Come, Pequeña. It is time to go home." Lupita shook off the blanket. She pulled her jacket close and glanced at the cloudy sky. There wasn't a butterfly in sight. While Mama and Papa walked ahead among the graves, Lupita turned one last look at her uncle's gravestone. On one of the flowers was a lone monarch butterfly, gently moving its wings. Lupita watched as it moved, fluttered above her head, and then flew away. She stared until she lost sight of it among the trees. Then she smiled and whispered, "Goodbye, Tio Urbano, my Uncle Monarch. I'm sure I'll see you next year." Lupita left the cemetery, and so she ran to catch up with her family. Felt the grave begin to lift from her heart. The end.
Thank you for listening to our story today. To find out more about Hyde Hall or the Springfield Central Library, please visit us at our websites in the description box below. you can be a part of this project. If you would like to volunteer to read a story, or if your children would like to attend the live filming of the Storytime programs at Hyde Hall or the Springfield Central Library, please email Colin at the email in the description box below. Keep reading, Springfield!